Hi, it's MJ Callaway here in my tiny bounce up studio, and I have our next contributor from the book 21, which launches April 21st. And today we have Elizabeth Connolly, who goes by Lee. She's a CPA and owner of Connolly Still and Company located in North Hills. And she's been helping small to medium-sized businesses and their owners navigate their own financial journey for over 25 years. Now, that's a lot of years. Welcome, Lee. So thrilled to have you today.
Thank you, MJ. I'm very excited to have our conversation this morning.
Me too. So first I have to dig into 25 years. That's amazing, especially because when I think about 25 years ago, you came into a male-dominated industry.
Absolutely. It's interesting looking back, and I think perhaps even now women have overtaken the industry. I think we generally, not all, certainly not to generalize, but we like to make order out of chaos a lot of times. So women naturally, I think, are good organizers in some ways and good accountants. But I think back to the time when I first started with my father in this business, and it was very much a male world and very much dark suits and whatnot. And that's not me. That's not who, and certainly not necessarily what the industry is today. But I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to really forge my own path in this industry.
Which is amazing because I'm thinking about the song, It's Raining Men. So when you said dark suits, I can picture a room full, because coming from a male dominated industry, I can picture a room full of like pinstripe suits.
Definitely the whole banker environment and whatnot. And so what is a woman's world? How does a woman make her way in that world? And are you seen as an equal? It's interesting. So over the years, and I've been so blessed to work with my father for many years, and he was an amazing teacher. My original background was actually in one of the big eight. I'm definitely dating myself because there's now big four at Touche Ross, which then became Deloitte. But I was in the auditing department. So but now I'm primarily a tax practitioner. My father taught me so much about what I know today. So I've just been so blessed to work with some really strong men, but the men in my life are just so amazingly supportive of women. My mother is still at age 81, a full professor at Duquesne. And my father's basically been like her business manager because she's also a world-renowned organist, and she gives concerts and recitals. And anyway, so that's not about her, but so I've had this great blessing in my own life to be surrounded and influenced by very strong women presence, but also the men who are just so amazingly supportive and wanting to help rise up and help my husband the same way. And he and I work together in the business as well. So I just consider myself to be so blessed to have been influenced and supported by men, but also being such a huge champion of women and women entrepreneurs in particular.
Oh, what a foundation. In addition to having a foundation, you believe, because this is part of your chapter. So what is the name of your chapter?
It is Leap of Faith.
And that ties in with you taking a leap of faith. Am I right? Is that
Absolutely. So interestingly, as I was, wanting to, start a family, I married my best friend. I was, we were working, traveling a lot, and I was working for a big eight. Like, well, I don't know that this is the way that I see myself as a mother. And I'm also blessed to be the mom of three young adult sons. But but how do I forge that? So I'm like, I don't want to be traveling all the time. So I actually pitched the idea to my dad. Hey, why don't we join forces here and start a company. And at that point, he had worked in various ways, and was ready to go out on his own again. He had been with a larger firm and then kind of went off on his own, and he was like, oh, sure, we can do that. And interestingly, so if you can imagine back in the day before the, you just Googled a name. So my maiden name is Steele. The name of the company is Connolly Steel and Company. As a married person, I'm a Connolly, so I get to be a Connolly and a Steel, and it's just wonderful to do that, to do that. But we instead of it being Steel Connolly, my father said, it's better for the Yellow Pages advertising. C comes before S. So, Connolly Steel. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get to be both. It works for me either way. But it was really just kind of a fun kind of aside as to how we became Connolly Steel. But it was the leap of faith that I'm gonna leave these corporate benefits, corporate environment, and kind of step out, leap. It was a leap of faith, and it was really a leap for my father as well, to train me to do the things. But we've been really such a great team over these, 25 years. It's been such a blessing.
Oh my goodness, I love it, because usually it's the opposite. It's the dad asking the child to come into business with him. So good for you. And I love that story.
I had a vision, and I wanted, I knew what I wanted for my life and how to order it. I just needed all the pieces to come into play.
And I love how he thought about having Connolly first, because as an author, the same thing, the C is at eye level, whereas the S would be down on the bottom shelf. So good for him. Now, 2020, I can't even imagine the impact it had on your business, working with business owners with their finances and what was happening. So can you share, how did you navigate that time?
Well, it was quite a challenge. I mean, actually now we're almost a year to the day. My birthday is March 6th. So it was right before the pandemic hit. We kind of heard rumblings, oh, something's happening over in Italy. Oh, that's a shame. It didn't feel so present here in Pittsburgh, certainly. My middle son actually left to go to New York City on a mission trip, riding around the subways of New York City, right? Left on the 7th of March. And then, so all of these things, as I think about how it all came together, such a challenge kind of personally. So the whole world is starting to get anxious, and what does all of this mean? And then obviously, as I am a small business owner, but I serve small business owners. So, the concern, what does this mean? How are we going to be? We're getting shut down. Actually, our business here in Pennsylvania was shut down for one weekend before we were deemed essential, and then we're able to open.
Okay.
I own the building that we operate in, and I own the business. I thought, well, they'll have to arrest me. We have clients' payroll to process. Like, I need to be in there to take care of my clients, so they can arrest me if they want to. But I will do what I have to do to make sure that my clients' needs are met. But I'm not going to put my team at risk. So this huge, weight, I guess, and responsibility to make sure that we could continue doing the work that we do every day. But how do we do it in a safe way? I have an aunt who was actually baking her mail on 200, but I thought, good Lord, we're going to burn your house down. Like, something as bad is going to happen. But if you think about the mindset, like what we know now is so much more calming, actually, even though things are still crazy and we've lost so much as a society, we know so much more about how this is working. But at the time, a year ago, we didn't know any of this. The mask and the hand washing, what do people do? But my thought was about my clients. How many of them will be impacted? We had a startup restaurant who was going great guns by Valentine's Day. Oh my goodness. Like, just the horror for them. Like, what will this mean, shutting down? And it's hard enough to start a restaurant. Such, again, faith and courage to step out to do something like that. And then through no fault of your own, to be completely have the rug pulled out from under you. And we have great many different industries that we represent. So how is everyone going to be impacted? What do you do? And I just knew that we had to not panic. We had to be the calm, in the storm. We needed to be the voice of guidance. So there were so many new things. We needed to learn what we didn't know, which didn't exist before the pandemic.
Right.
The passage of the CARES Act and all the PPP and PUA, all these acronyms that didn't exist. And how do we now, how do you apply for unemployment as a self-employed person? That was never an option. That was never an opportunity before this. How do you do it? What does it look like? What if I can't get through? So we had to really learn a lot. And be there just calm and steady for our clients. I was convinced that was our calling and our requirement to show up that way for our clients. And I believe we did that well.
I want to ask, so you had to learn all this because it's crazy. It was never there before. Now, not only do you have unemployment for self-employed, but you have the PPE loan and all of those guidelines. And I can't even imagine wading through all of it. So what did you do in order for your team to be able to handle this?
Well, I think the best thing that we did was we decided there's so much new to know, but then we still have our regular work that needed to continue.
Right.
That we appointed one of our CPAs as the all things COVID related, relief related person, and basically cleared her decks so that she could the first couple of hours of every day she would just read. She would read new SBA guidance that was out, took, courses, and, we just made it possible for us to have one expert, one person, and then steered all of the clients and the questions to that person. So, I mean, she's amazing. My team is fabulous. I'm so blessed. We have very little turnover because I think we have such a great working environment. And as a business owner, that's frankly one of the things I'm most proud of is that we have such a fabulous team. And, we've added, there's been some attrition and actually our first retirement, which is actually was a very sad thing for us, but I'd like to hold on to people, and work here, and it's a pretty significant commitment because I'm going to hold on to you for a long time.
I love it.
But but Kelly did an amazing job and is still doing an amazing job because then December 27th, there was a whole new act that was passed that changed all the rules again, and actually provided some additional opportunities that weren't there. Certainly related to anyone who has employees, the employee retention credit is huge. So, we're still navigating all of those changes. It's still happening right now as we speak.
So I want to go back to Kelly for a second. So how did you decide Kelly was going? Because first, let me ask you, how many people were on your team?
Well, there are 17 of us all together, but we've got a payroll, bookkeeping team, we have an IT team, and then kind of the tax, CPA team is a kind of a separate matter. But we had a meeting and Kelly was late to the meeting, and we were talking about, we really need to appoint someone. I said, I know, Kelly will be amazing. Actually, it wasn't just that she was late, but it's kind of funny. It's like, show up late to the meeting. Guess what? You appointed the COVID relief specialist. But I asked her, I knew she would be fabulous. And I asked her if she were willing to take that on. Certainly if we would, clear her decks, reassign her other client duties so that she could really focus and be there. And she has stepped into that so beautifully, but also made possible because the other team member said, absolutely. Well, what do we need to do to support Kelly?
Right.
So support all the clients. So we all know enough. But if it comes down to specifics, the algebra that goes into the decision about how to use the payroll PPP funds versus the ERC, it's an algebraic equation that would rival most math masters.
Wow. But I just love that be late for a meeting and you get chosen. It's like in a nonprofit with volunteers. If you're not at the meeting, you get assigned. So love it. And it shows how much fun, listening to it, reading between the lines, it shows how much fun your team can have.
We really get along so well. The thing that makes me was sad because generally in tax season we would have a happy hour, celebrate the end of January, next big deadline March 15th, another big deadline April 15th. So it's been actually really hard for us not to gather. In most other tax seasons, we would have, we would share meals, warm me up Mondays. We would, we own a couple of crock pots and we would fill them with soup that, local nuns make. So we were supporting a nonprofit, getting soup, and congregating regularly. And it's really one of the hardest things has been not to be able to celebrate, I feel quite fortunate that we've remained healthy and most people are coming into the office. We have the opportunity, we've allowed people to work remotely and provided a lot of flexibility and the tools to do that. But we also are in the office. But if you leave your office, you have a mask on. I mean, we're very serious about protecting each other and making sure that we can all stay healthy so we continue to do the good work that we need to do for the clients.
Which is awesome. So Lee, what would be a suggestion or a bit of wisdom that you would offer business owners?
It's funny. I feel like the pandemic is going to also bring out a whole new breed of entrepreneurs, right? People who might have thought that, the corporate world, but this isn't for me anymore. Or perhaps you find yourself in a situation where your job has been eliminated or something. There's a lot of need for strong, entrepreneurs. If there's a need, there's a will, and there's going to be somebody that steps into that space.
Yes.
I'd like to encourage people to really, take your own leap of faith. The leap of faith to say, I can try this. Let me do my research. Let me become educated in something. What is there a need for what I have? And how do I then, there's plenty of great people out there that can help you market it and, understand it, refine your processes, but believe in yourself. Step out. I like to tell my entrepreneurial clients, being an entrepreneur is like sleeping without a pillow. Like you are never truly comfortable. I mean, not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur, but if you have an idea, if you believe that there's something that you can do or a product that you can make that will work in service to others, why not? Believe in yourself, step out in your own faith and try. It's a great time. The water's warm. Come on in.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Perfect ending to our conversation. However, before we wrap up, how can others get a hold of you? What is the best way?
Well, all of our contact information is available on our website at connollysteele.com. So you can follow us on social. We've got, Facebook and Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn. So we actually publish a lot of, content. So there's some great information, great tax tips and other things, things to think about as a business owner. You certainly can call the office or email. We are here to help. The next 6 weeks are going to be a little intense, and then, but extensions are not evil or awful. So if you actually need help and, we need to extend so that we can get it right, just not get it done. We certainly can do that. So if you need us, reach out. We're happy to talk.
Oh, very generous, very generous. And great that you have resources too that people can read. So before they even call you, which is wonderful. Thank you so much for being on today, for sharing your insights with others. Appreciate it. And I loved getting to know you more.
Thank you, MJ. I've enjoyed our time together.
Me too. This is MJ Callaway wrapping up with Lee Connolly. And remember, make it a bounce up day.